Hello, California teenagers. Today we are going to talk to you about linkage institutions. Specifically, we're going to talk to you about linkage institutions and the debate over abortion. A linkage institution is something that connects the American people to its government. There are 4 types of linkage institutions: media, interest groups, political parties and candidates, and elections. Our group will be critiquing 3 of these linkage institutions that address abortion. These are media, interest groups, and political candidates. Abortion, the debate we will be analyzing in these linkage institutions, is the termination of a pregnancy. This debate is categorized into 2 sides. The first is pro-choice, which is the belief that women have the right to choose whether or not they will have an abortion based on their own moral beliefs. The second is pro-life, which is the belief that life begins at the point of conception and therefore all abortion is murder. Our 2 linkage institutions that will be taking the pro-choice side of this argument are Narrow Pro-Choice America, an interest group, and Wendy Davis, a Democratic senatorial candidate. First, Erick will talk about Brit Hume in a Fox News video where Brit Hume takes the pro-life stance of this argument in the media linkage institution.
Hey guys, and I'm going to talk about the linkage institution media and what role does it have on abortion, which is a topic that we got. So the video that I had to analyze, which the topic was Brit Hume's rant on Fox News, which was a pro-life decision because Fox News let Brit Hume speak on their behalf, which Brit Hume's was pro-life. So during the video, I noticed that this was pro-life choice because Brit Hume's only talked about how at early stages a baby having an abortion at an early stage kills babies and is considered murdered because the evidence that he states, which actually makes his his point of view it's stronger, but it's weak because he doesn't state where he got the evidence. He just says that he states the evidence, which is really good. So the evidence that he states is snuff out at an unborn life, a human being with a beating heart. That's what a fetus of 6 weeks is, a beating heart. And then he also states that at 20 weeks, these tiny creatures can hear and even recognize their mother's voices, and their toenails can grow, and their heartbeats are loud enough to be heard by a stethoscope. And going on to the next thing that I'm going to analyze, which was logical fallacies, which this piece of evidence is under my logical fallacy, non sequitur. I'll repeat it for you guys again. At 20 weeks, these tiny creatures can hear and even recognize their mother's voice, and their toenails can grow, and their heartbeats are loud enough to be heard by a stethoscope. So he says that all these traits are basically human characteristics, but dogs, I'm pretty sure dogs or any type of other mammal at this age or when they're having a baby, they have these characteristics as well. So does that make them human? So that's just one of the of logical fallacy I found, which is non sequitur hidden within his argument. Yeah, and talking next would be Michel on linkage institutions. Hopefully this was a good presentation so far for you guys.
For political candidates, I will be analyzing a video of Wendy Davis, a Democrat who strongly supports abortion. On June 25, 2013, Wendy Davis took a stand and spoke her mind about abortion. She stood on the Senate floor for 11 hours with no food, no bathroom breaks, no nothing. She just stood there for 11 hours and spoke about an anti-abortion law that is shutting down many abortion clinics. By looking at this video, we can tell that she strongly supports women's rights and abortion because she brings all this evidence with her and she brings all these facts that, in a way, she's trying to persuade her audience and to get to people to listen to her that that abortion is okay. With this said, she doesn't really use any emotional appeals to try to get to her audience or her opponents, because she just, when we look at the video, she's just constantly reading all these papers and saying all all these evidence and all these things that have passed, and that doesn't really help her, I guess. But I think the fact that she just stood there for 11 hours to try to make a point that abortion is okay, it's it just got to people, because in the video there's about 5 to 7 minutes where the audience takes those minutes and just claps, and they just clap and applause for her, because she is, I guess, the people have hope, and the people are listening, and they are listening to her, and they want her to try to get rid of this bill, the anti-abortion bill, that is getting rid of all these clinics where women go and they have abortions. So in the video, she doesn't really do much, but I guess the fact that she does do a lot by just talking about abortion and having all this evidence, but she doesn't tell some stories, like the one that, her herself, she's had an abortion before, and if she would have used that, maybe other people can relate to other people. But just because she's talking about abortion, and a lot of women feel like abortion is okay, she just has the support of those people, because it was very courageous of her to just stand there and speak about abortion. Anyway, with this said, in the video, the people clapping and how she just stands there proudly that she is talking about abortion and talking about how women should have the right to decide for themselves, we can tell from the video that people are, like I said, people are listening, and people are supporting her. So thank you.
Narrow Pro-Choice America is a pro-choice interest group. This means that they advocate for legislation and policymakers that would advocate for abortion, birth control, and sexual education rights for women. Under the abortion tab for the group's website, the title Clinic Violence introduces an article that highlights the different types of violence enacted against doctors and patients of abortion clinics. The article begins with an introduction that highlights the murder of a doctor who, quote, provided abortion services, end quote. It fails to mention what type of abortion services this doctor, Dr. George Tiller, provided to women. Dr. George Tiller was one of only 3 doctors in the whole United States to provide late-term abortion services to women in Wichita, Kansas. A late-term abortion is the termination of a pregnancy that takes place when the fetus is almost fully developed. These types of abortions are extremely controversial even to some pro-choice supporters, so leaving out this piece of information misleads the reader. A hyperlink later in the article on the words, "Violence that providers, their families, and patients face," directs the reader to an article about well-known instances of extreme violence towards people involved in abortion clinics. It is in this article that the specific type of abortion services Dr. George Tiller provided are uncovered. Although Laurel eventually reveals the nature of Dr. Tiller's abortion practices, the reader must spend extra time navigating the website to be able to access this information. Again, these late-term abortions are extremely controversial, and even pro-choice supporters are against these types of abortions. This clinic violence article has 2 subtitles. The first section, the challenge, highlights the different types of violence, such as murder, arson, and bombing, that have been done to workers and patients at abortion clinics. It then goes to state that many doctors and nurses wear bulletproof vests to work, and that, quote, "It's no surprise there aren't enough doctors willing to provide abortion services." This is a false analogy. Narrow Pro-Choice America is making a connection between all of this clinic violence and the lack of doctors eager to work for abortion clinics. But they are ignoring all of the other reasons doctors would not be willing to provide abortion services. Sure, some doctors may decide not to provide abortion services to women because they are afraid for their lives, but many doctors will decide not to provide abortion services because it goes against their own moral beliefs. Narrow Pro-Choice America also refers to pro-life supporters as, quote, anti-choice extremists, and say that, quote, anti-choice intimidation and violence is unacceptable. This attack on their opponent is meant to make them sound more evil than they might seem without this commentary. While Narrow Pro-Choice America attempts to make an argument for women's reproductive rights, the organization purposely leaves out important details that would sway possible supporters. This tactic helps them get out the information that they deem important and leave out information that would hurt their argument. Thank you for watching our video. We hope we could educate you on the different linkage institutions that connect us to our government.